The election of 1824 takes place during the Age of the Common Man. So during this time, universal male suffrage becomes the norm, or in other words, the ability to vote becomes widespread for males across the nation. So why does this happen? Well, the trend starts in Indiana and Illinois, these new states. Indiana, when it becomes a state in 1816, Illinois, when it becomes a state in 1818, their constitutions are not going to have religious or property requirements in order to vote in the state. So that opens up voting to a much larger population of males. Additionally, you get more power to the individual voter because now popular elections will determine the presidential electors. Electoral college votes will be determined by the popular vote in most of the states at this time. So the election of 1824 is a really complicated one, but it comes really down to Andrew Jackson versus John Quincy Adams. There are four candidates in this election. You have John Quincy Adams, who was the Secretary of State for James Monroe. And Andrew Jackson is the famed general who won the Battle of New Orleans during the War of 1812. So he is a war hero with many accolades behind his name. William Crawford and Henry Clay are sort of third wheels in this election. William Crawford was James Monroe's Secretary of the Treasury, and Henry Clay was in the House of Representatives for Kentucky, and in fact, he was actually the Speaker of the House. The election is largely split between the four different candidates. However, Andrew Jackson takes the majority of the vote in the popular vote and in the Electoral College. However, he did not win a majority in the Electoral College. If you look, he did win a plurality. He won the most votes, but it's not a majority, 50% or more. So in this case, the election will have to go to the House of Representatives to be decided on. The top three candidates with the top three highest electoral college votes are the ones that will be decided between. So that eliminates Henry Clay from the running. William Crawford suffers a stroke and is looked at as not someone who is going to be able to hold up in the presidential role. So it's really between Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams. Henry Clay, as a Speaker of the House, holds a lot of power and ability to swing the vote in the House. Henry Clay already leans toward John Quincy Adams because John Quincy Adams does support the American system, which it's Henry Clay's kind of brainchild. Henry Clay swings the election in the House of Representatives to go towards John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams wins the presidency, and guess what? He appoints Henry Clay to become Secretary of State. This is a really big deal because Secretary of State is seen as a stepping stone to the presidency, or at least a presidential nomination. If you look at the past record, the pattern is Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe. They were all previously Secretary of States to another president's administration. So this is a big deal for Henry Clay. And Andrew Jackson cries out that this is a corrupt bargain. This is a deal made between these two to where Henry Clay swung the election for his personal benefit. In the aftermath of the election of 1824, Adams has a really difficult slope to climb. Jackson is going to be building more and more supporters in the next 4 years, and he ultimately will win the election of 1828 against Adams. And there's a brief summary of the election of 1824.